Welcome, warriors of silence, kings and queens of restraint, the watchers who see without blinking, the thinkers who move in shadows, you who have mastered the ancient and savage art of endurance. This one is for you. This is not for the loud, the foolish, or the weak-hearted who boast of every small victory. This is not for the ones who must scream to be heard. No. This is for those who bit their tongues so deep it tasted like iron, for those who laughed while bleeding, for those who nodded quietly while the storm howled around them, for the ones who knew everything and yet said nothing. They underestimated you. They mistook your calm for ignorance. But you, my silent soldier, were never stupid. You just chose to let the fools think they were winning, and now they hate you for it. Because here's the truth. People don't truly fear what they can control. They fear what they can't predict. And what's more unpredictable than the person who plays dumb while watching every deceit unfold, every betrayal bloom, every cruel game laid bare before their eyes, and says nothing? That silence, that quiet nod, that smile that hides 1,000 truths, that terrifies them. And now, they can't stand it. Because the whole time they thought they were clever, they were performing for you. You knew, you watched, and you never gave them the satisfaction of a reaction. That is power. That is domination at its most brutal, when your mind is a war machine and your face is peace. They hate that you stayed calm while they tried to shatter you. They hate that you smiled when they expected you to cry. They hate that you were kind, even as they stabbed you. They hate that you never needed to stoop to their level, because to them, life is a contest of pride and noise. But you were never in that contest. You were busy building, watching, learning, waiting, and oh, how they hate that you're still here, still rising, still winning. Despite every trap, despite every lie, despite every knife you took and pulled out without a scream. They wanted you to be broken. They needed you to be clueless. It soothed their small minds to believe you were beneath them. They fed off your silence like parasites on a sleeping beast. But now the truth is tearing them apart. You weren't sleeping. You were observing. You weren't clueless. You were calculating. You weren't naive. You were merciful. And now that mercy has run out. Now they're left standing in the wreckage of their own illusions. Because you knew. You knew the whole damn time. Think back. Every fake smile, every whispered insult, every plan they made behind your back thinking you'd never catch on. You remember it all, don't you? You remember every glance, every cold shoulder, every moment they counted you out. But you didn't flinch. You didn't rage. You didn't retaliate. You let them dig their graves with their own arrogance. And now they are haunted by the memory of you. Because silence is not forgetfulness, and kindness is not weakness, and intelligence, real intelligence, doesn't show itself in loud, boastful declarations. It shows itself in restraint. In you, the quiet one, the underestimated one, the one who didn't know anything, were the smartest one in the room. Let them rage. Let them gossip. Let them scream to the heavens about how fake you were, how manipulative, because that's how the guilty speak when the truth comes home to roost. They don't hate you because you were wrong. They hate you because you were right. And worse, you were quiet about it. You didn't expose them. You let them expose themselves. And now, their shame is louder than anything you could have said. That's what eats them alive, that you let them burn without lighting the match. And don't you dare feel bad for it. Don't you shrink for a second. You didn't owe them your outrage. You didn't owe them your explanation. Sometimes the best revenge is no revenge at all, just survival, just silence, just success, just patience. You didn't play dumb, you played wise. You let them believe what they wanted to believe, and in doing so, you let them reveal the darkest parts of themselves. You gave them the rope. They made the noose. That's not your crime. That's their consequence. They hate that you walked away, that you left without begging, that you didn't give them a final argument to feed on. They were addicted to your reactions, and you cut them off cold. That's the withdrawal they're choking on now. You stopped feeding their ego. You stopped playing their game. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than irrelevance. You stopped seeing them. You stopped caring. You moved on. And they stayed stuck in the past, still trying to rewrite history, still screaming your name into a void where you no longer live. They want to believe you were a fool, because the alternative that you knew all along makes them feel small, makes them question who else is watching, who else is smiling quietly, who else is playing the same game better than them. That's why they whisper now. That's why they obsess. That's why they stalk your pages, your life, your progress, because they know, deep down, they never fooled you. You saw through them before they even finished the first act, and instead of confronting it, you let them perform. And they hate that you gave them that stage, that spotlight, that freedom, because now the audience has turned. Now the applause has died. Now the spotlight burns. You didn't win by force. You won by awareness. You didn't crush them. You let them destroy themselves. And make no mistake, that was a choice. You chose silence. You chose patience. You chose wisdom. And that choice has left them broken and bitter. That is the mark of true power. When your presence shifts entire dynamics without a single word, when your absence is louder than their presence, when your growth makes their insults obsolete, they hate it. Because they can't stop it. Because they couldn't break you then, and they sure as hell can't reach you now. Let them drown in their confusion. Let them twist your name. Let them accuse you of being fake, heartless, because that's all they have left. Accusations, stories, myths. But you have reality. You have scars that have become armor. You have lessons that have become strength. You have silence that has become thunder. You didn't play dumb. You played divine. You rose while they sank. You healed while they clung to hate. You evolved. And in doing so, you became untouchable. This is your time, not to scream your truth, but to live it. Not to prove your worth, but to embody it. You are no longer hiding, no longer pretending. You don't have to. The game is over. The masks are off. The quiet ones are rising. The ones who once didn't know anything are now leading the charge. And all the liars, the manipulators, the cowards, they are left behind, wondering how they lost to someone who never fought. But you fought every day, in silence, in darkness, in solitude. And now you rise. And as you walk forward, remember this, the cruel game they played. You knew it, you studied it, you outlasted it. And now your silence speaks louder than their screams ever could. And that is why they hate you. They hate that you played dumb, but you knew it all, and you still chose grace. And still, they can't let it go. They replay it in their heads. The way you looked at them, the way you smiled when you should have snapped, the way you walked away like nothing ever touched you, like their cruelty didn't leave a mark. But it did, didn't it? Oh yes, it marked you all right. Not with weakness, but with wisdom. Not with wounds, but with warnings. You remember now, don't you? The way they tested you, pushed you, mocked your silence, challenged your patience, threw dirt on your name. And every time they did, they were sure, absolutely sure, that you were breaking, that you were clueless, that you were just some harmless fool lost in the chaos of the world. But you weren't lost. You were watching. You were counting every time they lied, logging every moment they pretended to care. You were filing away the way they laughed at you behind your back, the way they changed when others were around, the way they twisted your kindness into weakness. And you let them. You let them show you who they really were. And that is why they can't sleep now. That's why they can't stand to see your name rise, your spirit grow, your name echo in places they thought they would own forever. You were never dumb. No, you were strategic. You let their evil unfold. You gave them all the rope. And now the rope is tight around their lives, around their egos, around the illusion they built out of fragile pride. And it's breaking because you're still rising and they can't explain how. They can't process the fact that the person they called naive, fake, soft, outlasted them. Their game is over, but your game, yours, just began. And now, the world sees you, not the version they tried to shape with rumors and gossip, but the real you, the patient one, the resilient one, the one who doesn't just survive storms, but learns from them, becomes stronger in the wind, grows sharper in the cold. You didn't just play dumb, you played goddamn immortal. You endured what most couldn't. You held your tongue while your soul screamed. You smiled while your heart bled. You stayed kind in a room full of vipers, and now those vipers are choking on their own venom. Let them crumble under the weight of their own masks. Let them stew in the silence you left behind. Let them rot in the echo of the lies they told about you, because you've moved on. You've upgraded. You've evolved. You don't live where they left you. You don't belong to that story anymore. They wrote you in as a footnote, a fool, a stepping stone. But you rewrote the ending, and now you're the storm they never saw coming, and still, they ask, how did they survive? How did you rise after everything they did? How did you stay graceful while they clawed at your name? How did you never lash out, never burn bridges, never lose your mind? The truth, you did lose your mind. For a while. You did fall. You did cry. But you never let them see it. You took all of that darkness, all of that heartbreak, and you turned it inward. You forged it into steel, into focus, into discipline, into unshakable silence. And that is something they will never understand, because they needed validation, they needed applause, they needed to be seen to feel real. But you became real in the silence. You became solid when the world turned to dust. You became fire when they thought you were ash. And now they don't even recognize you, and it terrifies them. That's why they hate you. Not just because you played dumb, but because you evolved. Because they stayed in the same toxic patterns, the same small circles, the same bitter loops, and you outgrew them all. You left them talking to ghosts while you started building empires. You didn't clap back. You moved on. You didn't seek revenge. You found freedom. And freedom, to the insecure and the petty, is the ultimate betrayal. They needed you to be the fool, because if you weren't, then they'd have to admit what they are. Cowards, manipulators, fragile egos hiding behind cruelty. So they called you fake, dramatic, soft, weak. But the whole time, you were playing chess in your head while they threw checkers at your feet. And now, they realized the board was never theirs to begin with. They were pieces. You were the player. So keep walking, keep building, keep smiling that smile they hate so much, the one that says, I saw everything, and I still chose peace. That smile is your crown. That silence is your power. That grace, that's your legacy. Because one day, long from now, they'll still be asking themselves, how did we lose? And the answer will burn forever in their minds, because you knew, and you never said a word. And that's the final blow. That's the cut that never heals. They'll never know just how much you knew. They'll never know just how deep your understanding ran. They'll never know the full extent of your awareness. And that mystery, that quiet superiority, that eats them alive, because they can't rewrite the truth you hold. They can't erase the wisdom you earned in the fire, and they can never, ever be you. Because to be you means to walk through hell with a soft heart and a sharp mind, to feel everything and still stay standing, to be betrayed and not become bitter, to know evil and still choose good. That's strength. That's power. That's what they couldn't fake. And that's what they hate the most. They hate that you played dumb, but you were the one holding every card. They hate that you stayed quiet, but your silence roared louder than their lies. They hate that you walked away, but you walked away undefeated. So remember this. Next time you're quiet, next time they underestimate you, next time they test you, smile. Because you've already won. The cruel game they played, you knew the rules before they even started. And you still chose grace over vengeance, still chose silence over spectacle, still chose to rise. And now they can't look away, because you are what they feared all along, a soul they could not corrupt, a mind they could not outwit, a fire they could not extinguish, and a mirror they cannot bear to face. And still they linger. Still they whisper. Still they watch from a distance, eyes full of questions they'll never ask out loud. Because deep down, they know. You hold the answers. You always did. It tortures them now, not knowing what you truly saw, not knowing how much you understood, not knowing when you started seeing through their act. And that not knowing, that unknown, it drives them insane. Because in their game, power was noise. Power was aggression. Power was dominance. But you flipped the script. You showed them a new kind of power, the kind that doesn't need a spotlight, doesn't need a crowd, doesn't need to shout. The power of knowing everything and saying nothing. You became the storm they mocked until it swallowed them. You became the silence that echoes louder than all their noise combined. You became the one thing they never planned for, a mind they couldn't manipulate and a heart they couldn't break. They didn't realize that silence can cut deeper than words. They didn't realize that a calm face can hide a soul that's seen war and came back stronger. They thought the loudest one in the room was the strongest. They thought deception was intelligence. But you showed them that the sharpest blade is the one that never had to be drawn. And now they sit in the wreckage of the game they tried to win. You see, there is no defense against someone who plays dumb and listens. There is no defense against someone who is watching when everyone else is performing. Because while they were obsessed with being the star, you were watching the whole stage. You were tracking every movement. You were listening to every slip-up. You were learning and learning and learning. They played checkers. You were building an empire of patience and perception, brick by invisible brick, and now they look around and ask, how? How did we not see this coming? And the answer stares them in the face. You did see it coming. You just let them walk straight into it. Because the truth is, your silence wasn't submission. It was strategy. It was chess. It was war, disguised as stillness. And now the war is over, and you won. Not because you shouted the loudest, not because you attacked first, but because you stayed the course when others lost their minds, because you trusted yourself when they tried to rewrite your worth, because you didn't need to prove them wrong. You let them prove themselves wrong, and that kind of justice, that haunts them. Now they try to rewrite history. Now they try to paint you as cold, distant, fake, because that's easier than admitting they were wrong, because it's easier than accepting the truth that the person they mocked, betrayed, underestimated was always 10 steps ahead. You didn't clap back, you moved differently. You didn't beg for closure, you gave yourself peace. You didn't ask them to see you. You became undeniable. And now they can't erase you from their mind because you became the lesson, the warning, the one they'll never forget. They'll remember you in silence. They'll remember you every time they meet someone quiet and start to underestimate them. They'll remember what it felt like to lose to someone who never even played their game. They will see your face in their failure. They will hear your silence in every room that rejects them because they mistook stillness for stupidity. They mistook kindness for naivety. They mistook your mercy for a lack of strength. And now they know. Now they really know. Because while they were busy trying to fool you, you were watching, learning, adapting, healing, and now you're untouchable. And when they look at you now, they can't even recognize what you've become because you've risen past the version of you they thought they broke. You've rebuilt in silence. You've become what they never believed you could, free. And the thing about freedom is, it exposes everything that isn't. Your peace, it makes their chaos unbearable. Your growth, it makes their bitterness obvious. Your joy, it becomes a mirror for every corner of themselves they tried to ignore. And so they hate you. Not because you harmed them, not because you exposed them, but because you survived them, because you saw through them, because you played dumb and still won. And now your presence feels like punishment. Your silence feels like thunder. Your success feels like revenge. Even though you never sought vengeance, you just kept moving forward. And that is what terrifies them. Because when they tore you down, they were sure you'd never rise again. They were counting on your collapse. They needed you to stay broken, confused, lost. But you used every scar as a lesson. You used every betrayal as a blueprint. And now, every step you take is built on the bones of the games they thought they were winning. So let them talk. Let them spin their stories. Let them pretend they still matter in the pages you've already turned, because you've already written the ending. And it isn't about them. It never was. You never played dumb. You played the long game. And now that it's over, they realize they were never the players. They were just part of your lesson. And you've moved on, unbothered, unapologetic, unstoppable. They hate that you played dumb, but you knew it all. And now you're living proof that silence isn't weakness. It's the deadliest power of all.